our job to do that. We do have a special guest here with us on today. I met him several years ago. We had a class together. And Ava May keep in touch. And since then, he has become a pastor. Pastor of New Jerusalem Baptist Church on Shelby Drive. And so you all have met him, so I don't have to introduce you to him. Now, just let you know that he is in class and he has to record himself. So he'll be recording himself, not necessarily you all. So you don't have to worry about that. But, we thank God for Pastor Wallace Cunningham. Let's give him a hand as a count.
Amen. Praise the Lord. God surely is able. Amen. I want to begin with prayer. Lord, we come now, God, as always come. How thank you for your grace and your mercy. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity, God, Lord, to stand before your people to proclaim your word. Lord, I pray, Lord, that you will accomplish that which you please, and I will follow so praying. But Lord, that it will minister to the needs and the desires that are in this room right now. God, we give your name and praise because we know that you are able. And we say thank you. Amen. Amen. Thank you, Reverend Sterling, for the honorable introduction and this opportunity to stand before all of you that are present here today. Yes, I am Pastor Cunningham, and I pray, ask God for the message to give to you today. It comes from 1 Samuel chapter 1, verses 4 through 20. If you would read the text, you will read about a woman named Hannah who prayed to God for a child, and God gave her the child. Ultimately, this she prayed for. But as I begin this sermon here, if I were to survey the room and to ask you what voice would be heard if all of us were speaking at the same time, some of you may say the loudest voice in the room. That's easy, Reverend Cunningham. Or some of you may say, well, not necessarily the loudest voice in the room, but perhaps the highest pitched voice in the room. And then some of you may say the lowest pitched voice in the room would be the one that would be heard. If I were to ask what about a decision that would be made in this building, perhaps some of you would say that's easy. The owner of the building will make the decision. If I were to ask about the decision that will be made in this city, you'd probably say, well, the mayor's voice. His voice will take the government, and his voice will be heard. If I were to ask about the decision concerning the state, you may say the government. That's easy. Or the nation, you would say the president. His voice would overtrump any of those other voices that will be heard. But I want you to know today that the text that we read about Hannah is not so much about a woman that is praying for God or so much about what she's petitioning God for. But the message of this text is most definitely it's about a voice being heard. Whose voice is being heard? And according to God, it does not matter if you are the loudest voice you find in the text, if your voice is the most highest pitch or the lowest tone. It does not matter if you are the mayor, if you are the governor, or if you are the president to God. Whose voice is heard to God is the voice that is most sincere. The voice, the person who is most faithful, who does not give up in the face of great adversity. And so the challenge for us is that when we are praying to God and we're lifting up our voice to God, is to not allow our voices to become suppressed. In the text, you read about some voices that seemingly are louder than the voice of Hannah. And the first voice you may read about would be her husband. She had a husband named Elkanah. And Elkanah was not concerned about her having a son. In fact, he had gave up on that being a possibility. He said, well, Hannah, am I not more to you than 10 sons? And so he kind of suppressed her voice. The voice is being suppressed by his, but it's also being suppressed by the other woman. Because Elkanah was married to another woman whose name was Peninnah. And Peninnah made fun of the fact that Hannah wanted to have a child. And then so much time had passed, and she was still praying to God over this issue about wanting a child. And so she ridiculed her. She made fun of her every chance that she got. But I want you to know today that we should not allow our voices to be suppressed. Because those voices were echoing in her ear. She did not allow what they were saying to cause her not to continue to pray to God. She continued to lift her voice to God year after year, week after week, month after month. She fasted and prayed into the temple, asking God for the same thing, because you'll find in life that people will try to trump your voice, that people will try to overlook what you are saying, or people may try to belittle what you're saying, as if what you are asking and what you're seeking after of God is nothing, because they are not walking in your shoes. Many times I find out for people to understand what you're really going through, they got to stand under what you are standing in. But I'm so glad that she didn't allow what they said to hinder her, but instead she used it as a stepping stone to guide her to continue to seek after God. But not only should we not allow what people say or what people do to suppress our voices, but we must understand that God is even able to hear the whisper of our voices. When she was in the temple going to pray, the Bible says that she was praying to God. And as she was praying, no voice was being heard in the temple. And Eli looked at her and he said, "Are you drunk?" He asked her because he thought that she was drunk. And she said, "No, I'm not drunk." And she began to voice to him what was going on. And as she began to voice with him what was going on, he heard her and he issued these words: "Go in peace. May the Lord grant you what you have requested of him." And so, y'all, I don't know about you, but I come up in a tradition that it's a common saying among the people that if I can't say a word, then I can just wave my hand. And so I thank God today that Hannah, she was a hand waver. She was the one that, even though her voice was suppressed by her husband, by the other woman, by time and life, by her situation, by where things looked like, because God had closed her womb, she understood one thing, is that if she continued to seek after God, it was only a matter of time before God would open the door for her. The Bible says that if we ask, we shall receive. If we seek, we shall find. If we knock, the door shall be opened unto us. And so Hannah continued to seek. She continued to ask. She continued to knock until she got the Lord's attention. And God spoke to her. And now the reason why I know is that her prayer was answered. The reason I know that her voice was heard, even though she was not uttering any words from her lips. The Bible says her lips were moving, but no voice was being heard. But the reason I know that God heard her voice is because the text says that after he uttered those words, here is Hannah that had been fasting, had not been eating anything. Here we see Hannah, whose face has been downcast. The text says her face was no longer downcast anymore, but she began to walk upright again. And on the next morning, she entered into the temple with joy, and she was eating, and she was rejoicing in the Lord. And so I know that God had heard her prayer because he changed her condition. He changed her walk and gave her a new walk. Because her husband, he began to see her as a beautiful woman. And the text says that he knew her and she became pregnant with a child. So I often thought it funny because I thought in my mind that maybe if she walked with a downcast, if she walked with her head down, that she kind of sluttered her feet a little bit. But after she received news and believed that her prayer had finally been answered by God, that God changed her stupor, slumber into sleep. And it caught her husband's attention. So I want you to know today that those that I'm talking to you today, don't allow life to suppress your voice. It may seem like it's not being heard because time is steadily moving by and things are not changing in your life. You're not getting the things that you have requested of God. But don't allow Elkanah, don't allow the Peninnahs in life to ridicule you and make fun of what you're going through and make light of it as if it's nothing, as if you are nobody as a result of it. But I want you to continue to believe like Hannah that God is able. He's able to do just what he said he would do. He will fulfill every promise, every word to you. Don't give up on God because God has not given up on you. He is able to do everything but fail. Now I ask you, looking back on this, what does this matter? What does this matter? As I thought about it, as the writer of our text was penning this story for the Israelites that would later read about the history of Israel. What does it matter about a story of a little old woman that is praying and asking God for a son? Doesn't seem like it's something that's very significant. Doesn't seem like it's something very important or taking in life, like a shelter or food or water or things of that nature. But I think that he wanted them to understand that if God could hear a woman who at the culture of this time, the life and the way that they would lead things at this time is that a woman was nothing but the property of a man. And so if God could hear the littlest voice, the softest voice in the room, if God could hear nobody and honor her request, then God will also hear all the Israelites. He would hear them though they were being attacked by the Philistines. He would hear them though it seemed like God had abandoned them. He would hear them though it seemed like they were hungry and that they didn't know what to do in life. And so God, what is that saying to us? They're saying to us the same thing. If God will hear Israel, God will also hear us. He will hear us even if we're trapped in Babylon, in a foreign land, and they're making us sing songs of joy in a strange land. And we may say to ourselves, how can I sing songs of joy in a foreign land? But I want you to know today, as long as God is there with you, you are able to do all things but fail. So don't give up on God. Your situation may be pressing. Your life may be tough. The hills may be high. The way may be rough. But God is able to do all things but fail. Thank you. You have a voice. You have a voice. Do not let it become suppressed in life. Don't let it be overlooked. Even if you can't say a word, God knows your heart desire. He knows what's on the inside. And He'll supply what you need even before you ask. Hannah is a witness to that. And I hope that we are too. Amen. God bless you.
All right, so we want to give voice to prayer